I'm your host, Adam Mill. This is the Guess I Said podcast. To the right, left from me is.
Because the governor.
I'm balling, man. What's up?
And we back with our special guest, Mickey Factz.
Smicky. What up? What up? What up?
Right. Keeping it
So,
going.
so to continue the conversation, we were speaking on the process of Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
To me, is a classic. How do you feel, real quick? How do you feel when classics are mentioned, like the likes of Illmatic, Ready to Die? The list goes on, right? How do you feel when you hear like a Section 80 and stuff like that, that this album is overlooked?
It could have not been overlooked had the label spent the money on the samples. You know what I'm saying? It would have been a hip hop classic. I think the people that have heard it always say that it is a classic. And to me, that that stands the test of time. I don't think I think the only I think there was maybe one person in all my travels that didn't like it, and that was the person that wrote the review on it. But aside from that person, everybody loved that project. It was something that really hadn't been done at that time. You know what I'm saying? And so now, I look at it like, hey, if you got it, you stumbled upon a gem. And maybe I look at it like maybe everybody's not supposed to find a diamond, you know? If that was the case, we would all have diamonds.
Mm.
Sometimes things are ahead of their time too. Like it might be waiting to get discovered type of deal. You know what I mean? And it turned to that cult classic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that too. So, I'm grateful that the people that have heard it have sung its praises, and I think that means the most to me over everything.
Yeah, because when I was listening to it, I found the beat selection to be very different. You know what I mean? From
Yeah.
that aspect alone, just being able to do that, and then on top of that, to hear bars to go with it, that's not what you expect to hear. That you expect to hear Cat in the Hat, basically.
Yep. Yep.
When beats go to get to be very experimental like that, but for you to be able to not only be experimental, but to put people into that world, you know what I mean? That's a gift in and of itself. So how would you describe doing that? Like, so I know that you said when you put yourself in the scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you able basically just so you it's like you just pick the different scenes in your mind and you just use them as your palette.
Yeah. So what I would do is I had to tell a narrative driven story. So the story starts with him being homeless, and then it moves from being homeless to being discovered to being popular to meeting a woman, watching his friends die, and then contracting a virus. And then in between that, there would be interviews and dialogue, and then uh, a flashback or two. So, like in my mind, I was like, okay, if that's going to be the through line, then I need to find stories within this autobiography that I can take and just create from it. So, there were names and places that I was like, okay, these are abstract names, these are abstract locations, these are abstract vocabulary words from a painting standpoint. Because it's not, when you say bars, governor, it's not like gun bars, it's not drug bars, it's not even like getting fly in 2012 bars. It's like bars from the 80s as a painter who was around popular celebrities and crime. This the juxtaposition of this, because it wasn't just the biographies that I was reading. I also had to read old magazine articles, old news clippings. I had to research HIV. I had to research when somebody died, what would happen. I had to research certain there's no new punchlines. All the punchlines are relevant to the 80s. So that was another like constraint that was added to it. You know what I mean?
That's genius, man. That's genius. I'm gonna have to go back and do my study on that. See, this the beauty of great projects, right? And this is no blame in particular. When you hear recent artists or commercial artists, again, most people listen to the beat first and does it have some type of feel or whatever, some type of jingle to it, or like you said, some type of cat in the hat bars. And we get into your school later because
Right.
that's important, right? Um, but when you hear albums that you got to sit down and dissect and study, when it becomes something like a scripture or holy book almost, right? In that respect, that takes the artist to a whole different level.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to warm up to like artists like MF Doom. And that's one
Yeah.
of my favorite artists, by the way,
Mm.
right? But you know, a lot of people, this separates the hip hop head from the person who just like music.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's an interesting art form, and the one you can tell the ones that have care and concern for the craft. You know what I mean? And I think that's important. Like I love all genres of music. I love the ratchet stuff. I love, you know, the turn up stuff. I love I love all of it. I think there's a place for it all. I just don't like the fact that it's not balance. There is no balance. If there was balance, things would be a little bit better, but there's no balance. And due to it being no balance, we are looked at, these are the representations of what black people are. And I don't feel that I don't feel we are a monolith, and I don't feel like we should be categorized as a monolith just because we have a sexy red and just because we have a little baby and a da baby. We also have intellectual minds like a Black Thought, and we also have Southern geniuses like a Bun B, and we also have West Coast creatives like Kendrick Lamar. Like, we are a diaspora of so many different minds and intellects, and I feel like we all need to be put in the forefront, not just the ratchet music.
Fact, fact. What's going on, number one? Was anything you need to ask the brother?
I came in late. Were we still on the album?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, y'all can let it rock out. I'm just taking
Yeah.
it all in.
Mm.
Taking it all in.
Yeah, for sure.
The school, Pendulum Inc., if I'm pronouncing it right.
To me.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that and how they came about. I will say, for by watching from afar, I will say this from a person who's been taking hip hop serious since '08, but been influenced since the '90s. There's a lot that you were speaking about that I knew nothing about. You know what I'm saying? I was just writing the words and concepts and stuff. I didn't know anything about a double, triple, multi, or none of that. Explain that, man, because
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot in music, and the one thing that I haven't had the luxury of having was having a hit record. I did not have a luxury of having one, or having a big, like, there's not a song that you could be like, okay, that's that Mickey, throw that one Mickey Factz one hit wonder record on. I don't have that.
okay.
So during the post pandemic, when I saw DMX pass away, rest in peace. I saw Shock G pass away, rest in peace. I saw Black Rob pass away. Their affairs weren't in order, and I was like, these guys have big records. People know these guys, and their affairs are not in order. And some of them, sad to say, died with no money to their name, and that affected me on a personal level. And I said, what can I do to ensure that my future is set? And I started to think, okay, maybe I can get a job teaching. So I applied to teach in many different spaces and got turned down. And I said, well, maybe I can teach, I can do it on my own. And I reached out to Masterclass, and they were like, don't call us, we'll call you. And that was the last straw. And I said, I'll do it on my own. And I started to just really dial in what should be taught, who should be taught, how much it should cost, breaking down the lessons, and getting MCs to be involved to teach from a celebrity standpoint. So not only were fans and students of the game learning from Mickey Factz and Chilla Jones and mental health specialists and businessmen in the business, they also get to meet a legendary MC every single month. And I think that is really what took it over the top.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what's needed. That's what's needed in this time. Especially it's been like a void when it came to like lyricism, at least for I don't know. I don't want to say like a set amount of time, but you could tell that you could see that the lyrics has been dropping. So it's good to see that and I think that one reason that a lot of it is dropped, because I remember when like it was a certain class that came out, and a lot of them were famous. I don't want to name names, but we'll just say what they were saying at the time, talking about if you put one of these verses, you put one of them old school beats on, I'm not going to drop a cold 16. That's what the quote was.
Yeah.
And at the time, the way I took it like it was a thing like it was like an intimidation factor when it came to trying to do that. So they was like, look, I'm not interested in trying to be one of those type of rappers. Like it was like, look, that's not the lane I'm trying to be in. So they just took that excuse, more or less excuse, or that way to say, look, I'm just gonna make the vibe, basically. So when it came down to it, that's why I say that that's a good thing now. We can kind of get the bridge back where you can take the vibe, you can keep your vibe but throw some lyricism in the mix. You know what I mean? It's a good thing because I think that's just going to keep it going instead of making the whole thing die.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important. I mean, you look at it from this perspective of the we have to. I don't want to be the old man on the porch arguing with the clouds. I can't. Like I can't. That cannot be me.
Yeah.
I rather lead by action. So if we don't like what we are hearing from our youth, then I look at it like this is how, listen, it might sound harsh. I look at it like God and the children of Israel with Moses, they just let them walk around for 40 years and give the children the books that we write, right? A kid's rhyming dictionary, put these in the schools, and by the time we are older, then hip hop will be back to where we want it to be with some content, some actual skill set that we can be appreciative of. You know, it's something about watching the next generation and being proud of that next generation. It's something that Kane said to me in our class. We had Big Daddy Kane come to the school. And he said he learned from the younger generation because he was 89. So he said by the time 1993 came around, he was still ahead of the beat. Method Man was behind the beat.
Yeah.
I love Wu-Tang. He said, I had to learn from Method Man to go behind the drum because it was evolving. And he said, I didn't hate Wu-Tang. I loved Wu-Tang. I loved Mobb Deep. I loved Big. That wasn't reciprocated to the youth now. Like,
yeah.
Because it's generational gap that they're not following the foundation that was before us. You see, when y'all ask me who I love, it's like, yo, Kane. That's foundational stuff. I can admit, hey, I'm not into Kaz because that's just before my time and the way he rhymed, I couldn't get into that. But Kane is still foundational. Rakim, still foundational. And I feel like we're the only race that does this to our legends, where we don't honor them and learn from them. You know, we need to learn from them. Kane said, I learned from Kaz. Kaz said, I learned from James Brown. James Brown probably learned from Jackie Gleason or whoever. You know what I'm saying? Like it's we're passing on generational talent, DNA, and blessings, generational blessings. I don't want to say generational credit. We're passing on generational blessings.
I think it's sort of like how it is, let's say outside of music, where there's a generational gap in communication, right? I think that's with hip hop too, right? Where the younger crowd don't invest in the information or knowing about the generation before them. Like today's time, they don't want to know about the Wu-Tangs and the Biggie Smalls and the boot camps and stuff like that. They don't want to know about these things. They don't want to know about the Eminems and stuff like that. They on their own thing. And I think it has a lot to do with the powers that be in the industry, where they want to they don't want people like you, people like Eminem and Lupe to go and teach the youth about the game and the tricks and the trades of the music industry. They want to keep, that's why they say, oh, it's a young man's sport. No, it's a sport to keep you stupid. You know what I'm saying? It's an industry that want to keep you dumb. They want to keep having, it's almost predatory.
Yes, it is predatory. It is.
No?
It is. And I think it's important. I don't want to gatekeep. I want everybody to know this knowledge. I want I wish I had a mentor. I didn't get a mentor until like 7 years into the game. My mentor was Q-Tip.
Mm.
And then he got too busy. And then, so like I had to learn on my own. I don't think we as a people should be learning on our own. It takes a village to not
Yeah,
only how, but
that's a
to
whole fact. Because when you look at other musical art forms, you can go to certain schools to learn them.
Yep.
And in hip hop, we don't have that. We literally need a school that you can go to learn hip hop, like rap lyricism. You know what I mean? Yeah, we
yeah,
don't have that. We really need that.
I mean we do have it. I own
Thank you, man.
it. I own it. So like that, I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing, right? Like if I didn't do it, I don't know if it would have happened. And which is the wild part, because there's a lot of pushback from people saying that it can't be taught. And I'm like, we cannot be this ignorant, to think this way.
Especially when you had colleges and universities trying to bring what they brought. I remember they brought Nas in to teach classes and such
And
on,
Harvard, yep.
about the whole literary devices and all the rest that they're using in the rhymes. So you can't say that it's not something that can be taught. You know what I mean?
Also, that's what they used to say about jazz. They used to say jazz couldn't be written.
Yep.
Because jazz players used to improv.
Yeah.
Till certain players just started writing it. Right? So yeah, anything can be taught.
Right.
Yeah, if they can teach Shakespeare in school, they can teach hip hop.
Isn't that the trick? Isn't that the trick to make sure that they end up gaining the whole industry in the end? Because if you think about it, like say a whole nother industry had nothing to do with music at all. Let's talk about wrestling, for example, right? You had the different, and that's supposed to be fake and everything, but forget all of that. I'm just talking about the fact that they had like the different, they had different foundations. Like they had a school out in Canada they was teaching a bunch of the wrestlers at, and they had other people that's down south that was doing the same thing, and they would all go into different promotions, and they would bring their people up. They would bring them up through like a farm, and they would teach the whole game of it. You know what I mean? How you do everything when it come down to it, and it gets to a point where it's levels, and they will level up to the top ones that we would see on TV.
Right.
That's how they keep their industry in place. But I think the way when we getting fooled into not believing that it's a legitimate thing, we don't want to put our thing on paperwork. We don't like to do our contracts right. We don't like to handle the business side of it. Like we get tricked out of that for some reason. And that ends up where we end up losing the whole industry long term. You know what I mean?
Perfect segue to ask Mickey. Does the school teach how the business side of the industry?
Yeah.
How to conduct that?
Absolutely. We have a once a month class. It's called the Mickey Money class. So we go over royalties, publishing, contracts. I bring in managers, publicists, attorneys, record label executives, A&Rs. Like we bring in all of these people to come in and share not only their stories, but their knowledge, have the students ask questions. I think it's important because you're going in blind and everybody thinks there's still people to this day that say they want a record deal. And I'm not saying that there's nothing wrong with having a record deal, but people just be like, yo, I want to get signed. I want to get signed without even doing any work.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about like underground artists? An introvert like myself.
Right.
Right. I get stage fright. I probably performed twice in my whole life. Right.
Oh, okay.
Get cold feet, you get nervous, you don't like to be around a whole lot of people. What do you say for an artist like that loves to write, loves to make music, but he doesn't like that part of hip hop to be around folk?
So I think I think when you were probably doing these performances back in the day, that there was set rules. And I feel like there's no more rules, right? MF Doom felt the same way. That's why he wore the mask. And then when he was like, I don't even want to perform, he sent out Doom bots. So he was sending out people to rap as him on stage.
Yeah, facts.
So you just have to be creative, Willie, right? Like it's to a point now where let's say you put out a record and for whatever reason, the record goes viral. For whatever reason. And it goes viral for like 6 weeks. It's like a Bobby Shmurda kind of situation. And then you get your first phone call. Yo, we want you to come to the 930 Club in DC. We got $15,000 for you. Right. And for one night, 1 hour, you just got to perform. You got to, all the records you ever did, but we want you to do this last song. And we got 15,000 for you. The best way to overcome this, right, is a couple of things. One, you can do like what he did, right? You could put on a mask. You could put on a poo shiesty. You could put on a ski mask. You could have your hoodie on. You could have a Bape hoodie on. This guy Billy Woods. Nobody's ever seen his face, right? So you can do stuff like that. You could put a pair of shades on so you can see everybody, but everybody can't see you in the eyes. Yeah. You could take a shot, right? You could take a shot to ease your nerves, right? And then if you have anxiety with looking people in the eyes, you can look into dead space. So like, let's say Governor, Jay, and me and Jam were all standing next to each other. We're shoulder length apart. So from my head to the next head, there's space. You can just look in this space. Yep. And it'll give the illusion that you're looking here, but you're really looking here.
Gotcha.
And so there's many ways where you can overcome that, right? You just have to be creative with how you present yourself. You know, you can even there's no rules. You could go out and sit down if you want. You could sit in a chair and rap. You know what I'm saying? You can do a Zoom concert. Mm-hmm. You seem to be normal right now on Zoom with me.
Yeah.
And four of us.
It's the Gemini introvert, bro.
Yes. I actually have a question for you. What do you consider to be underground hip hop these days, in your opinion?
Underground hip hop to me is anybody that's doing venues that's 1,000 and lower. You know, when you do a show and you can bring 1,000 people out in your city or any other city you go to, that's underground hip hop. Anything lower than that is underground hip hop. 500 people in the show, 100 people in the show, whatever. That's underground hip hop.
How did you approach when you were doing like the battle? When you did battle, right? You did.
Yeah, I wanted to speak on that.
Yeah, on that circuit. Preparing for those, I'm pretty sure, because I know how you went through the whole process of the method acting before, like method rapping. That's what you called it. Yeah. Would you follow a similar thing when it came to that? Did you approach that the same way?
Because I've been writing for so long, I know how to multitask. So every time I took a battle, I had a music project that was getting ready to come out. The difference between it is battle rap is a little bit tougher because you have to write new material, right? Like just like a song, you got to write new material. Then you have to perform this new material flawlessly. Then you got to hope that this material gets crowd reaction. Then you have to hold your composure for what your opponent has to say to you. Then you got to hope you don't get booed. You got to hope you don't forget your rhymes. And you got to say stuff that's never been said before. So you can't even like say something that somebody else said before to your opponent. So you have to be ultra creative. It is a completely different experience. It's an adrenaline rush. I get adrenaline every time I got to do a cypher. I got to, perform. No matter if there's 10 people or 50,000 people, I get anxiety. So imagine a battle where this is the first and last time. This is the first and last time I will ever say this rhyme live. And it has to be perfect.
Right.
Like it's no joke. It's a lot of training that goes into